Hi everyone, this is Yvonne from Yvonne Ceramics. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to hand build a dog bowl like this one here. So I'll be showing you how to build a wall, the bottom and the letters to make a slow feeder dog bowl. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more videos each week. Let's take a look at what I have. So I have a block of stoneware clay. I'm going to roll it into a slab first. These are dowel stick about 1/4 of an inch. So I need to roll it into a slab about 1/4 of an inch. So I've already rolled out my slab. This is really old clay. So you can see there's some hair and dirt in my clay, which is fine. They will just fire out in the kiln. So right now I'm just using my yellow rib to smooth out the surface of the clay. Then I am using this rank. This is from the GR pottery form, and I'm using this size, which is 6.5 inch, as my template. And I will be cutting the 6.5 inch circle, and this is going to be the base of my bowl. After cutting it, you can just remove this part. And this is going to be the back side. So I'm going to just stamp my maker's mark on here. And let me just get another bat. So I rolled out the slab onto this bat, and I don't want to peel this off and move it to the other bat because it could warp the bottom. So when you want something to be laid flat as much as possible, you want to handle it as little as possible. So I'm going to put the other bat right there and then just do a flip like that. And it should come off. So this one has trouble coming off from the bat, so I'm just using the wire cutter to just slice it. Okay, that should come off. So let's try that again. Putting this bat here, flip it over. Yep, there we go. So it came off nicely, and that's the other bat. I can just clean that off later. Okay, so I'm just gonna use my rib to smooth that out again. Okay, after that, I am going to roll out a slab, a long slab for the wall of this bowl. Before I roll out my wall, I want to show you this bowl. I made this bowl for my first dog, which is a corgi. It works when my dog was still a puppy. But now that she's older, I found that this is not sufficient because the corgi has a very long nose, and so it didn't quite slow her down using this bowl. So as an improvement for my second bowl, I'm going to build a taller wall which is suitable for the long nose of the corgi, so that it will take them longer to eat. And same for these pieces, I'm going to make them taller as well. And so let's get back to this one here. Now I'm going to roll this out into a thin slab. I'm thinking, since this wall is about 3 centimeters tall and accounting for shrinkage, I think this time I will make about 7 centimeters tall, and then with a 12% shrinkage, it will be about 6 centimeters tall, which is perfect for the dog's long nose. All right, so I rolled out my thin slab. Next, I'm going to start by cutting a straight line on the slab. Let's take this out. And then now I'm going to measure out about 6 to 7 centimeters. Yeah. So 7 here. So I'm going to do little marks along here where 7 centimeters will be. Okay, now then I'm going to use my ruler and connect the lines where I made the marks. Okay. But right away, I know that this is not going to be long enough to go all the way around the bowl. So I'm going to just leave this aside. Let this firm up a little bit because right now it's too soft and floppy. So I will leave that on the side and let it dry. Then I'll go ahead and do another long slab. Now that my walls are drying on the side, the next thing I'm going to do is find a vessel to put on here. So right now I've got this, is just a round bottle I have. It's actually my slip casting container. And I have wrapped on the outside a piece of newspaper because my container is plastic. So if I put this in the middle of my bottom and use this as my support while I build my wall, the clay could get stuck onto the plastic bottle and hard for me to take this out afterwards. So that's why I have the newspaper here, because even if the clay stuck onto the newspaper, I can just pull this bottle out. So yeah, this is my bottle. If you don't have a bottle at home, something similar, just try to find something about the same size as your bottom. And this one is just perfect. So this is a good size for support. Next, I am going to score the bottom. So depending on how big your bottle is, the size of my bottle is just about the same size as the circle. So I think I'm going to build the wall on the outside of this circle. So I'll be scoring the outside of this. But then if, let's say, your support is smaller than your bottom, you can build your wall on the inside and you'll need to score on the surface of the circle. But for me, I'm going to score on the side. So I have scored. Now I'm going to slip. So you could use slip, but I'm just going to use water. Okay, then I have to put my bottle here. All right, so as you can see, this is my bottom of the clay. This is my bottle with the newspaper. Okay, make sure it's lined up nicely. Then I also need to use my scoring rib, and I've got my walls here, and I'm going to just score this as well. So make sure you're scoring both sides. And then putting a bit of water on here too. And I'm going to just put this around. So this is laying flat on the bed and just putting it around the bottom here. And using my bottle as support, I'm just using my finger, just pushing it in, pushing the bottom in, like so. You can also use your rib to smooth it out as well. Okay, now I'm going to turn my bed because this is only a part of the wall. I've got the second part of the wall. I'm going to do the same thing and scoring it. And to do the overlapping, I like to, you can see here, so this is part of the wall. I'm going to do a overlapping like that, and using my knife here, I'm just gonna cut at a slant angle right here. Okay, and because I'm cutting it at a slant angle, it's kind of like a beveled edge, so I can now score these ends. And put the slip on the beveled edge and joint them like so. And you can push the ends here in as well. And I'm using my small wooden tool to help me close the seam as well. As for the inside seam, I'm going to work on that later, but let's work on this outside seam. And as you can see, I didn't quite do a pretty good job at cutting about the same height, but that's okay, we're gonna fix that later. So let's just keep turning and working on our wall. All right, so it's been sitting for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to now take off my bottle. As you can see, my bottle's out. Now it's just the newspaper. So now with the newspaper, I can just easily take that off. So that's why it's important to wrap the newspaper around your support, especially if your support is plastic. Okay, so now as you can see the inside rim, I'm not sure if you can see the inside rim here. I need to fix those, and also some of the inside were, like for example here, you can see here, like I kind of pushed in a little bit more than I like, so I'm going to fix those. So I'm going to start by wetting my wooden tool and fixing the inside seam. So I have one hand supporting the outside and the other hand just working on the inside seam. And because my wooden tool is wet, I can just easily smooth out that seam. So here's the top-down view of the bowl. Next, we are going to work on is putting a coil along the inside here to just strengthen that joint. So with our excess clay that we cut out, we can use those. I'm going to wet the coil first in water and then just putting it along the edge here. And then using my wooden tool, I'm going to just zoom in. Okay, I'm going to just smooth this out. In fact, I'm using a bigger wooden tool now to smooth this out. Right now, I have one hand just supporting the outside while I smooth this edge here. So I've gone all around the edge, as you can see. It's all good now. So next, remember the height difference that I have on this side. I'm just going to use my knife and just do a little trim along here. I'm not going to do all the way around, just a little trim here. And then that's good. Just smoothing that out. little wet sponge and just run along the edge here, so just to make sure it's not too sharp, because sometimes the edges can be quite sharp and you don't want it to be too sharp and cut your dog's mouth. So just running along the inside and outside edge. Alright, so I've got a block of clay here. This is about 4 centimeters tall. Remember the wall was 7 centimeters tall, so that's perfect. I don't want it to be taller than the wall. And because my new dog's name is called Mochi, so I'm going to have the whole name carved on one block. So first I'm going to start with the M. I'm going to do a block letter. O. C. H. I. Okay, so I'll be that. Next is I'm just going to cut it. Next is I am just carve the surface like so. I'm not carving all the way. The reason why I'm not carving all the way is because so for example here, the inside here, it'll be very hard for me carve those, so I don't want to break the clay, so that's why I'm only carving the surface. Alright, so I have finished carving the name Mochi. So next I have a wet paintbrush. I'm going to just smooth out those edges, especially these carving marks. You want to smooth that out because you don't want to cut your dog. I didn't carve it too deep because I don't want any like kibbles or food that falls in those really deep crevices and get stuck there. I want it to be challenging, but like just as a slowing down, but not to make it too challenging and hard for them to eat. So that's why I didn't carve it too deep. But first we need to look at this block of clay. It's a really big chunk of clay and we do not want to fire it like that because it's very hard to dry the inside of this clay. So what we are going to do now is we're going to cut this in half like that. And we are going to carve out the middle. So leaving the edge intact, I'm going to carve out the middle of the clay. Like so. So make sure you carve it out, but leave the edges intact, and then we're going to score the edges back together. So basically making this kind of like a hollow box. All right, now that I have carved out the clay from inside, I am going to score both edges, and then I'm going to put a little bit of water to help with sticking these two back together. So goes on like that. So push them together. You can use a wooden tool to help you to seal that together. Alright, now that we have our name all good and attached, we can score the back side of this and attach it to our bowl. So adding water and scoring it. I like to attach it to the middle of the bowl, just push it down. And I'm also going to add a coil around it. So just wetting my wooden tool and just fixing this edge here. So there's still a lot of space around this bowl, and I carved out little bone here, 2 of them, and I'm going to attach them here and here, and I think that would be pretty good already. So I'm going to do the same thing, just scoring the bottom of this and this one as well, and just doing slip and score and attach them together onto the bowl like that. Okay, so I'm going to put a coil around it as well, just like how I did with the name. So I finished attaching all the pieces and clean up the edges some more. Now I need to flip this over and fix the bottom. So putting a bat on the top, and let's flip this over. Okay, then after flipping it over, as you can see, this is the attaching edge. It's actually pretty good. Did a pretty good job attaching it, but I'm still going to use my rib to just smooth out this bottom here. I'm just doing it lightly. I don't want to add too much pressure because the clay is still soft at this moment. So just cleaning up, compressing the edge. I'm not too worried about these pieces. I'm gonna let this leather hard a little bit before I can use a sponge to clean that up. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. And same for like here, the edge is a little bit sharp, but I'm not going to trim that yet. Wait till this leather hards, then I'll use a serve form to trim that. So my bowl has become leather hard now, which is perfect time for trimming the bottom here. Also at this point, I'm checking for any cracks, which I don't have, but there's areas like the side of this letter is not very smooth. So I'm just running my fingers to just smoothing out those areas so that it's nice and smooth. Any marks that I've made, I'm just smoothing it out with my finger. Make it nice and smooth. And for trimming, I have my shear form here. It's great for trimming. So I have my bucket here that is basically my reclaim bucket. And what I do is I am just holding my bowl here on top of my bucket and using my shear form. I am just trimming the bottom. I don't want to trim too much or else I'll poke a hole through. So I'm just kind of trimming a little bit to make it nice and not too sharp. And the reclaim bucket will just catch all the bits of clay so I can rehydrate it later. So I'm just moving it along. I'm not trimming too much, just 1 or 2 passes. And we're almost done. And there we go. Let me just show you the bottom now. So that's what it looks like. You could try to trim a little bit more here, but I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to use my rib to run the bottom here because there's some little bits of extra clay. So I'm just running it. I don't want to use my wet sponge at this point because it's a little hard and I don't want to add extra moisture. And I'll also run it along the edge here just to make sure it's nice and smooth, because there are some lines that was made by the Sureform. So that's it for today's tutorial. That's my dog bowl for my new puppy coming in a few months. Thank you everyone for watching. See you guys next time. Bye bye.